I'm Harrison Graham coming up here on 4 Verts. I got a full preview of number 2 Georgia traveling to Tuscaloosa to take on the 4th-ranked Crimson Tide. We will break down that matchup. Plus, I'll take a look at the top 5 matchups of the week, including this one, and make my picks against the spread. So we'll dive into all of that here on today's show. But before we get into this matchup in particular, who do you got? Who wins? Final score, if you want to throw a score prediction in there. Type UGA for Georgia, Bama for Alabama. Let us know who wins this big top 5 SEC matchup. All right, I'll get to my pick here in a little bit. Let's talk about the nuts and bolts of this one just a little bit. Obviously, Alabama won this matchup in the SEC championship last year. It was a bit of an upset in Georgia, obviously, at Atlanta. And now they get them at home. So another opportunity for Bama to win a big game against Georgia. And a great opportunity for Kalen DeBoer, the new Alabama head coach, taking over for Nick Saban. I mean, naturally, some people are still like, he's good. Can he replace Saban properly? And that's fair. When you replace a legend, it's always going to be difficult. You're going to have detractors early. This is an opportunity to make a pretty big statement like, yeah, I'm a high-level head coach. I'm not coming in here messing around. So we'll see if he's able to have his guys up to the challenge in this one. Early on in the year, Bama has the clear offensive advantage. They've been much more consistent and explosive, averaging almost 50 points per game. Georgia down there at 32. Now, it's a bit skewed. Georgia had a laden egg against Kentucky. Probably should have lost that game. I think they 13-12, so that brought down their scoring average a lot. They scored 40-plus against Clemson, so they are certainly a very capable offense. I don't think people should go into this and be like, how does Georgia keep up? Well, a guy like Carson Beck's got to play better, right? We'll get to him in a second. But Jalen Milroe, a legitimate Heisman contender right now, top 3 according to most sports books, and he's been great. He looks a little more polished as a passer, although it's not perfect. I don't think he's like the perfect quarterback for DeBoer and what he wants to do, but they're leaning into his strengths as a runner. 6 rushing touchdowns already. Hasn't turned the ball over yet, at least throwing the ball. He might have a fumble. I'd have to double check, but 8 touchdowns passing, no interceptions. He looks like a player who last year that was up and down, was learning as he went. Now it's like, yeah, this is a veteran college football quarterback at a high-level program. Like, he knows what he wants to do out there. They're going to run him. He's going to use his legs to keep plays alive. I think he's doing a better job this year of when he does evade the pocket to keep his eyes downfield and try to make a play with his arm. And hopefully he's able to do that on Saturday. Carson Beck, his counterpart, is he able to bounce back? Because let's face it, he was not very good against Kentucky, and neither was Georgia as a whole. Threw for just $160 in that game, no touchdowns. But for the season, he has been pretty solid. Like, we do have to mention that. I thought he was really good against Clemson in Georgia's season opener. Kind of the opposite of Milroe. Not that flashy. Wants to sit in the pocket, get rid of the ball quickly. Doesn't have the strongest arm, but can make a lot of different throws and typically throws with good accuracy. So we'll see which side kind of bears out better. You know, I think defensive lines are pretty important in this game for Georgia, obviously, to keep Milroe contained. And for Alabama, can they get Carson Beck off his spot? If they can, I think they got a decent shot to win this game, no doubt about it. All right, I think you look at these two quarterbacks, I would give Bama the slight edge. Milroe winning that game against Georgia last year, he's already beaten Carson Beck. And in these big games, if it's close, I like the guy who's a little bit more dynamic and can move around a little bit better, and that certainly is advantage Jalen Milroe. If this was in the NFL, I might feel differently. I might go with Carson Beck, who probably is going to get drafted higher than Milroe, although that's up in the air still. Milroe's rising up boards, but I would give Bama the slight edge at quarterback here. Look at Bama's X factor offensively. I've been really impressed with Justice Haynes, averaging just under 9 yards per carry. They kind of leaned on him in that South Florida game where things were a little choppy, a little tricky early on in that one. He broke a couple of long runs in the second half, so he's a guy that they're going to run read option with him and Milroe. They're going to get him going on the ground. Wouldn't shock me at all if he had 20 carries in this one. For Georgia, Trevor Etienne, who was suspended for the season opener against Clemson, only 24 carries coming off the bye. Those legs should be fresh. I could see a lot of touches coming for him, especially if they struggle a little bit to throw the football. You could see Georgia decide to go with a more offensive rushing attack, right? With Trevor Etienne, he's certainly capable of doing it, so that could certainly be a possibility as well. Now you look at these defenses, both are excellent, both top 10 in scoring defense. Georgia's giving up 6 points per game, Bama 8.7. This is certainly a matchup with a lot of pros on each defense. Now, I would give Georgia's defense the advantage here. They're certainly more talented in that regard. I think their front in particular is better. They have a couple of pass rushers that are going to get drafted high, a couple of linebackers as well. But make no mistake, this is a heavyweight battle between these two teams. Two high-level coaches, two high-level quarterbacks, talent at the skill spots, defensive talent everywhere. They're going to hit. The offensive lines can play. Proctor should be fully ready to go for Alabama. So I'm excited about this one. And coming up next, I'll go through all the top matchups of the week, starting with Bama, Georgia, which is where I will make my initial pick in this one. So stay tuned for that. But don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you want more college football content, right now about 2/3 of our subscribers are NFL subscribers. So if you're a college football fan like me, it's my favorite sport, would love to talk about it more. Be sure to subscribe today. During the week, we're dropping a couple of college football episodes, usually doing our picks episode like we're doing on the back half of this one, plus another big story or two. Did the UNLV, Matt Sluka, NIL debacle story earlier this week. So if you want to go check out that video, you certainly can. Hit the subscribe button. It's free. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. All right, let's get to my Week 5 picks. And by the way, I was 9-6 against the spread going into Week 4. I got to double check what I did last week. So I think I went either 3-2 or 2-3. So stay tuned for that. We'll have updated standings and my record next week. All right, I'm going to go Georgia here. Georgia's a 2-point favorite. I think they win and cover. This is the primetime ABC game. I just think they're more talented on defense, and motivation is a powerful thing in sports. And I got to thank Kirby a couple of things. One, they were pretty dreadful against Kentucky 2 weeks ago. They should have lost that game. They found a way to win it. You would think they'd come out and play better in this game. And two, losing to Bama last year in the SEC championship game cost them a spot at the college football playoff and a potential national championship. So I think he's going to have those boys ready to roll. I think it's tight. I think Georgia by 3 to 6 points. I like them to cover the spread and find a way to win this game. Big game in the Big 12. Both Oklahoma State and Kansas State coming off losses in their Big 12 opener. Top 25 teams. Don't want to fall to 0-2 in conference play because then you're fighting an uphill battle to try and get to the Big 12 championship game. Kansas State minus 4.5. That feels a little high. I kind of like an Oklahoma State money line play here. Avery Johnson, the Kansas State quarterback, great runner. Not really built to come from behind in a game. He's pretty hit and miss as a passer at this point. So if the Pokes can get an early lead with Ollie Gordon running the football, I like their chances, even though it's in Manhattan. I expect this game to be tight, but from a betting standpoint, I kind of like Oklahoma State money line, but for sure to cover. Again, a big game here. Could be a loser leaves town type of game. Loser's got a big uphill battle to get to Arlington for the Big 12 championship game. Sneaky top 20 game here. Number 15 Louisville at number 16 Notre Dame. What Jeff Brom has done at Louisville in a season in 3 games so far is pretty impressive. Remember, they were undefeated, or 11-1 last year heading into that ACC championship game. Almost beat Florida State. They ended up losing the bowl game as well, so they kind of faltered down the stretch. But he's done a great job there with not premier talent. And Notre Dame already has a loss on the year to Northern Illinois. I'll pick the Fighting Irish, but I think almost a touchdown is too high for the way Louisville likes to play. I think Louisville covers here. Notre Dame gets a much-needed win and resume booster, as they probably got to win out to make the CFP, right? It is 10-2 Notre Dame making the college football playoff with a loss to Northern Illinois on their resume, which, by the way, great moment for Northern Illinois. They turned around and lost to Buffalo last week. Like, that's just not a good look and loss for Notre Dame. They really need a win against a ranked opponent here. This is my biggest shock of the week from a point spread standpoint. Number 19 Illinois visiting number 9 Penn State. This line's moved a little bit, but Penn State is a 19-point favorite at home against the Illini. I get it. It's in prime time. It's going to be a whiteout game, all that stuff. But I've watched Illinois a couple times now. Their defense is really good. They've got pros on that side. Luke Altmaier, the Ole Miss transfer, is a pretty solid quarterback, and he's played a lot of ball. Penn State, almost a 3-touchdown favorite in a top 25 game. Historically, under James Franklin, that's kind of unheard of. He falters in these games. Now, Penn State should win. I would pick them to win, but Illinois plus 19 is a hammer for me. Like, what am I missing here? This feels like, does Vegas know something we don't? Like, is Altmaier hurt or something like that? And depending on when you're watching this video, maybe some information has come out. We're filming this on Thursday, but I watched Illinois-Nebraska quite a bit, and clearly Nebraska's not great yet, but they're a solid team. Illinois physically on defense was really impressive in that game. Brett Bielema is an underrated head coach. It wouldn't shock me if Illinois won this game. I'm not picking that, but I love them to cover. It's, I think, the easiest bet of the week. Now, doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that's how I feel about it. I like Illinois in this spot to cover. And Drew Aller, while he looks good against inferior competition, this is not an inferior defense he's going up against. Like, it would not shock me at all if he struggled. Give me Penn State to win, but it's going to be much closer than 19 points. Arizona at number 10, Utah. I like the Utes in this spot. They win regardless. How about this? If Cam Rising plays, they cover no matter what. That's how I'll play it. If he doesn't, I like Arizona to cover, but I will take Arizona to cover, but Utah still wins. If Rising plays, Utah will cover, though. Arizona was pretty underwhelming against Kansas State on that Friday night game a couple of weeks ago. They could not move the ball consistently. They can't stop the run. Utah's much more physical. I like the Utes in this spot. Late game at home, too. I think this is a tough ask for Arizona and company. So there you have it. We got more coverage here on 4Verts. If you want to subscribe to the channel, be sure to do so. NFL and college football content on a daily basis. We need more college football subscribers, so join the channel today for free. My name is Harrison Graham. We will see you guys soon. Enjoy your football weekend.